So I know you have rode down the road in the wintertime and you have seen these absolutely gorgeous trees slaughtered. Crepe, rape, crepe murder, whatever you want to call it. You'll see them and they'll come in here and they'll cut them back in here somewhere. And just, or you've seen them, they'll even come up here and cut them up here and say, oh, we're cutting them high, so it's the right way to do it. And they'll come out here and cut it here. And it's, well, my take on crepe myrtles is that's a tree, and you shouldn't come in there and whack it off. It's just totally and completely butt ugly, and it just ruins the whole integrity of the tree. These are actually Natchez crepe myrtles. You can tell by the bloom, the white blooms. You can see how the bark, it peels its bark. It does that mostly in the winter. Fall and winter, you can see it actually starting to do it some of it now. I had a lady call me one time and asked me, did her tree have a disease? I was like, no, that's what it does. It's just character for the tree. So if you're on the fence about whacking your crepe myrtle back or not, please don't do it. That's just, please don't do it. That's just, in my opinion, that's just terrible. There's another good one up front. But just think about all the shade you're cutting back, and you know, you'll have folks say they don't bloom if you let them go. You have to prune them to make them bloom. Well, that's BS, because mine are loaded with blooms and they're just getting started. It's July 4th, and typically they'll be blooming a little, just a touch later, but you can see they're already starting to put off plenty of blooms, and I'd say by next week all those pods will have bloomed, and it'll just be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of white blooms all over it. So that's BS that it needs to be, the crepe myrtles need to be pruned to bloom. They do not. The bees are working overtime today. So basically, I prune my crepe myrtles totally opposite than a lot of, I guess, lawn care companies do it. At least we see it in this area pretty bad. You know, I think the reason for that is you know, it's 4th of July. We live in the absolute greatest country in the cosmos. Our freedoms are far beyond what most countries experience, and it's, I mean, it's the United States of America. It's just, I'm so proud of my country, and just to live, for God to have put me in the spot I'm at. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. So along with our freedoms comes the choice to you know, work or start a business, or you know, anything like that. Where these lawn care guys start a business, get a mower and a truck, and go out and get a couple contracts, and things are going well, and I salute them. And then all of a sudden it comes time for winter, and they see other lawn care companies butchering the crepe myrtles, cutting them way back, and they're like, oh, so that's what you do to those. And then they go buy them a chainsaw, they go do the same thing. So that's the only thing I can figure. that's incorrect. It's not the correct way to manage a crepe myrtle, simply because of the tree. I wouldn't go over here to my maple tree and whack the top out of it. I wouldn't go over here to my blood good Japanese maple and whack the top out of it. I wouldn't go over here to what is the name of this Japanese maple? It's another Japanese, Yasconi or something like that. The bark on it, the entire bark turns red during the winter. You can see it starting to change right there. It's really, really cool. In the wintertime, the colder it gets, it'll be fire engine red. So I won't come in here and cut that off. So, if you're guilty of this, please stop. Gosh, the crepe myrtles look so much better when they're not butchered up. So basically, if I'm going to prune this one, I've actually already done these two over here, and you can see how I've raised the canopy. I've taken it up and gotten it pretty even all the way around. You know, I'm trying to create a nice even bottom to it. Of course, I'm not going to touch the top. We're going to let the top do what it wants to do, because it's going to naturally grow in a kind of an oval shape or a half oval shape. So basically all I'm going to do is come in here. I can't reach that one. Let me get my other pruners. Of course, I like the hand pruners, loppers, and these things are so neat, man. They're just the telescoping reach pruner. I don't see I've had these for a long time. You see the stickers faded out. Made in Japan. Oh man, can't believe it ain't made in China. ARS, the ARS Corporation, and basically, you can see how this works. Basically, just an extension, an extended hand pruner is all it is. So you can see how these few right here are kind of hanging down like so. You see you got your main branch right here going out. Well, anything hanging below that main branch is the ones that I'm just going to nip off and clean up, and that's going to give me a more of an umbrella type look. Now, before the comments start rolling in about why you have to prune the crepe myrtles that are planted right up against the house, yeah, I get that. It's that's a classic case of wrong plant, wrong place. So the dummy landscaper who planted it is the one to blame for that. So if you're planting crepe myrtles, remember that they are very aggressive when it comes to growing. They grow very aggressive. So plant it where you can give them some space. When I've done all this landscape at my house, that crepe myrtle out there is about 20. It's about 23 feet, I think, off the corner of the house. So it's got a considerable amount of room to grow and spread. Of course, you can see how far these are away. There's just no way I'd have stuck it up at the house, because I know what was going to happen. Is it would end up growing in my gutters, dropping leaves in the gutters, and I would have felt like I had to cut it back, and I might as well lose my religion if I do that, because this is probably other than weeds in the yard, This is probably the single most biggest pet peeve that I have when it comes to a yard is my crepe myrtles. It absolutely kills me to see these crepe myrtles butchered back. Especially when you see a, whoops, that's not gonna cut that, that's too big. Ooh. I got some loppers for that. Cut it right here, but I'm gonna take a lopper and cut that. Especially if you have just a drop dead gorgeous crepe myrtle. I mean, it's been there for a while, it's thriving, it's blooming, and all of a sudden come back next week and it's been butchered. So you can see I'm opening this bottom up right here. Get in here and cut that one off. Whew, some of those I need the loppers. Another thing, I can get up in here and clean out the inside, give it a little air to breathe. Listen to all those bees. My gosh, the bees are going crazy today. So you can see how that kind of don't freak out, you're gonna get some of this. It's just a dead limb. That's just what crepe myrtles do sometimes. You can take and clean it off, clean the dead ones off. And I don't even cut the seed pod, the old seed pods, the old bloom pods. I don't even cut those off every year. Now the only time that I will do some serious pruning in the winter on a crepe myrtle, and I can't find an example in these trees because I do it every year, is if you have some serious branch crossing, meaning if this branch here all of a sudden went over and crossed over this branch, and a lot of times they will sit and rub together, and if they sit like that, it'll wear a spot on it. They'll actually grow together. I've seen them grow together where you couldn't pull them apart. So that's the only time in the winter that I can't find one. I guess I do a fairly decent job. Okay, there's one right there. I'll do that one this year. If you can see it right there. You see right there where that branch is crossing, and it's actually already started wearing a spot on it, and that's where the wind blows, and of course the tree rocks back and forth a little bit. So this winter, matter of fact, I'm not even going to do it this winter. I'm going to do it now because that's doing some damage to that. I'm going to come right here and I'm going to cut that one off. So that's really the only time I'll do it. Now, why do I prune now instead of the winter? Well, in the winter there are no leaves on these trees. They are deciduous, so they drop leaves in the fall when the first frost hits, or second frost, and after that it's nothing but sticks sticking up like any other tree. So I can't tell how to shape it correctly, so that's why I don't prune it during the winter. Look, I missed this one. I actually done this one in the dark the other night. We just got home from ball practice. This whole limb needs to come off. See how I'm my canopy's here? Well, this one's below my canopy that I'm trying to create. So if I take that off, that evens all that up again. And then if I even that up, that means these bottom ones right here will need to come off too. Bingo. Take this bottom one off. bottom. Might as well take that one off. So, got to get the loppers and make a few cuts, but you get the drift where this is going. This is, in my opinion, the correct way to manage crepe myrtles. I just, my gosh, it kills me to see them butchered. Crepe murder. They have a couple names there. If I tell you what, I'm so serious on this. My crepe myrtles, my employees know that it's automatic termination if they touch a crepe myrtle. Other than doing what I'm doing now, which is keeping the suckers cleaned off the bottom and keeping the canopy raised. Other than that, that's grounds for automatic termination. It may sound a little cruel, but like I said, I'm pretty dead serious about my crepe myrtles. I have zero tolerance on messing with them. But there you go. Other than a couple little branches I got to cut off with the big loppers. That's kind of the way I like mine to look. That's why I feel like every one of them should look like that. I tell you what, if we were to move and I'd have buy a new house and it had a crepe myrtle in the wrong place where it forced me to cut it back so it didn't grow all up on the house, I'd hire a bobcat and keep coming in and dig it out. I would just remove it before I cut it. So when making your cuts, this is very, very important. You have the main trunk here, and a limb's going to come off of that. Well, on the majority of trees, you can see this. It's a little hump right here. See this little bump? There's one there. Just about every limb will have one. Oh, this is a real nice one. You can see this bump right here. See how it kind of bumps out? Well, that's called the collar. And inside this collar area is the healing agent, substance, ability, whatever you want to call it. But inside this collar is what gives it the ability to heal up correctly once this limb is cut off. So if I were going to cut this off, I would cut here. Just, you see my little indention slightly above the collar there. You see a lot of folks will come in and shave it completely off. Well, what happens then, you get this big ugly knot, this bubble looking thing that forms, and that's incorrect. So if you're going to cut a limb off, you come out right above the collar, good clean cut, good sharp pruners, and give it a good cut right there. And by doing that, this area will heal up correctly, or heal up as it should. That's what we learn in college is how to cut that. And of course, I've learned it with experience too. And you come in and cut it here, it doesn't heal up right. You need to cut it right outside the collar for it to heal up correctly. All right, so there's the finished product, and you can see how I've got them pretty even at the bottom. These crepe myrtles were about I'm gonna say they were 6 or 7 feet tall, 5 years ago, and now they're pushing 20. That's 6, 12, yeah, 16, 17, 18 feet. So they've grown quite a bit in 4 or 5 years. But you can see how I've got the canopy kind of evened up for the most part. You're not going to be able to get it dead perfect, but you can get it pretty close to even. You can see I even took off one substantial size limb right here. It was just hanging out. It was kind of hanging down here by itself, and it just, my evenness was off, so that's why I took that limb out. But now I've got to go tackle that big boy and raise him up. And you know, I do the same thing for my maples. You can see I've been cutting on the maples too. You can see the difference between that one and that one. I've still got that one to do. There's not much to take off the bottom of that. Kind of the same thing, just kind of cut the bottom limb, cut from the bottom up, never cut from the top down. You can see this one is kind of cleaned up at the bottom. Just kind of raise it up, make it look neat. I'm even going to do this Japanese maple right here. Of course, you don't have to do near as much to it. And basically all I'm going to do is come in and cut off a lot of these lower hanging they're not necessarily suckers, they're just limbs growing out at the bottom. And me personally, I don't like it. I like my trees to be nice and neat and clean looking. I wonder, should I take, now what I'll do is I'll take and if I'm undecided about one, sometimes I'll even get my wife to come in here and hold a limb back like that, and I can get a better picture of it. And I think, watch the difference this makes. See here, right above the collar. Here, kind of opened it up a little bit, didn't it? And I got a couple more in here. Now, you have to know when to stop on this, because you can get cut happy and just keep going and going and going. But of course, we don't want to do that right here. So you have to know when to stop, when enough is enough. I think that's good right there. Yeah, I like that. So that exposed the trunk a little bit. I think it gives a nice clean look. So, hope this helped. Have a great 4th of July, and don't butcher your crepe myrtles. Check you later.